You are listening to Equip Students Podcast, a ministry of Equip Church. For more information about who we are, visit our website at equipchurch.life or head over to our Instagram page at equipstudents.life.
Hey everyone, Pastor Miguel here, and you're listening to a segment we call Young Voices. 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 12 says, "Don't let anyone think less of you because you are young. Be an example to all believers in what you say, in the way you live, in your love, your faith, and your purity." We believe God has given young people a voice to impact this generation. During this podcast, you will hear interviews from students about their journey with Jesus. Hey everyone, this is Pastor Miguel.
And this is Julie.
And we're joined with a special guest today. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Juliana Moore. I'm 18 and I'm a senior in high school.
Come on, we're so glad you're here, Juji.
Yes.
So, how did you join the church?
I joined the church July of 2021. I don't know the exact date, but I moved down here from Idaho about 3 years ago, and I joined the church. We were just looking on Google Maps, and we were just looking for an Assemblies of God church, and the first thing that popped up was Tomball Assembly of God, and I told my mom, I was like, hey, we should try that church. And we went the first Sunday, and we encountered the Lord, and We've been at the church ever since.
Yes, I remember meeting your family, being introduced, and it's a large family.
Yeah, family of 6. Yes.
Oh. What's really cool right now is that your youngest sibling just joined the youth group. So now we have all 4 of y'all in the youth ministry.
Yeah.
The youth, yeah.
Super exciting about that. And so we're so glad you're part of the church. I remember first time we went out to eat we went
Vietnamese,
yes.
It was so fun. Yes.
So good.
Yes.
Saigon Pho in Tomball, Texas. Amazing place. And we just had a great time getting to know you.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember we found out that you recorded a YouTube video somewhere.
No.
Yes.
Playing ukulele and singing.
It's still out there, you guys. Look,
Yes.
No.
look her up.
Don't look me up.
And so your parents were bragging about you playing. And I was like, great, you can join the worship team.
Yep. I was kind of voluntold.
Yes. And now you're one of our worship leaders. You play piano and ukulele. You're an awesome singer. You also sing on Sunday mornings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you were here in Columbus, Ohio because of National Fine Arts, where you're competing in 2 different categories with your vocals. And then, of course, you're also leading a drama team, a human video team.
Yes.
Well, tell us about that. How was that experience?
Oh, it's a great experience. I actually grew up doing human videos at my old church. And I don't know, I've always had a passion for it. I always loved acting. And so when I got the chance to do a human video for Fine Arts, my first year, I actually did a human video solo. And then that inspired a lot of the other students. And so the next year, we had about a group of 7 people do the human video, like, ensemble large. And then this year we've had 9 people.
I know, it just
So
keeps
it's
growing.
just growing.
Yes.
It's growing. I'm hoping we can have 2 teams by next year.
I'm pretty sure more is there to come.
Yeah.
Yes, for real. And it's so good. And like the skit that you all did, you found videos online.
Yeah.
And you just clipped some stuff together and made some modifications and put it all together, and you essentially wrote it, which is amazing.
Yes.
Well,
and everybody loves the message behind it.
Oh, powerful message.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So, how did you get involved in the church?
I got involved actually like when you told me to do ukulele on worship team.
Yes.
Yeah. It was ukulele, then piano. I only knew 3 chords.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Do you remember that? I would just I only knew how to play it on 1 hand. Then I worked my way to 2 hands. And now I play better, but I still want to keep getting better.
And you've grown so much.
Yes.
Yeah.
From knowing 3 chords to leading a whole set of worship.
Yes.
Being the main player and the main singer.
You know, as you talked about that, I'm reminded of the first time you played piano at youth group. For those of you that are not musicians, the piano, when you play it, there's a little pedal on the ground, and when you stomp on it, it causes the note to like hold out for as long as you hold down that pedal. And so normally when you change different notes and as you're playing the music, you're supposed to release the pedal. Well, Juliana did not release the
I
pedal.
did not.
And it was just a whole bunch of noise from the piano, and I'm like, wow, it sounds really muddy today, like something. And then as I look, as she's singing and playing piano, her foot is just resting on the pedal, not being moved. And I think, did I text you? I showed you, or
Yeah, you showed me after service. You went up to me and you were like, so you're supposed to release your foot every time you change a note on the pedal. I was like, oh, I didn't know that.
Yes. And so it's just hilarious. But just to see you now, like, one of our main keyboard players, like, doing phenomenal job singing, playing. You played at Street Church with us, an outreach that we do. You're our piano player when we go there. You have a piano at the house now that you play.
It was actually the old youth piano.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
That's right.
And then you guys are hosting a worship night here in August of 2024 at your house, where you and your family will be leading us in worship. Yes, it's going to be awesome. And so, man, I'm just so glad you got involved in the youth group. And so, how did you come to faith in Jesus?
I came to Jesus when I was about 5 years old. It was that age where reality just kind of starts to hit, like, not fully, but for me, it was kind of when reality started to hit. And my dad, I remember, was sitting in the living room talking about heaven and hell, and the reality just hit, and I was like, can I give my life to Jesus? And I remember sitting in my living room on the carpet, giving my life to Jesus. I remember the big black table that I was sitting on when listening to him, and then I had to jump off, and, you know, I was tiny girl. But, you know, as I grew up, I kind of fell away.
Okay.
I kind of just I kind of lived a double life.
Okay.
Like, I would be involved with my church. I did a worship team at my youth group at my old church. But when I got home, I was kind of a completely different person. I had different beliefs. I had very worldly beliefs. I believed in worldly things, like, I mean, probably the biggest one, I was a big believer in astrology. I questioned everything about myself. I questioned who I was.
Wow.
Yeah, like, my identity. And eventually, when we moved here to Texas, it was kind of like I was giving up on the Lord.
Wow.
And it was when we saw the church on the GPS, it was kind of like, okay, Lord, I'm going to give you one more chance.
Wow.
And that day, I actually remember, I remember when we were worshiping, I remember just falling back in my seat and just, like, the Lord, I encountered the Lord. And I gave my life back to the Lord that day, and I've been saved ever since I was 15. So, yeah, it's been like 3 years now.
Wow.
You know, your story, I feel like it's so relatable to what a lot of teenagers these days are going through, that, you know, they're raised in the faith, and at a young age they do give their hearts to the Lord, but once you start hitting those preteens and the teen years, and depending on your surrounding, like, there's a lot of philosophy, there's a lot of different beliefs that are pulling at you, making you believe, like, well, this is truth. But, you know, having those encounters with the Lord, that moment in your heart, you knew, like, okay, this is something different, like what you experienced at church, his presence. That's so huge.
Good. Yeah, you know, and that brings us to our next question, which is, how has attending a youth group helped you in your relationship with God?
So it kind of just showed me that I wasn't alone. Because I felt so alone for a long, long time. And it just developed into depression and isolation. that was like the worst combination
Yeah.
ever. And not that, like, you know, I knew I wasn't alone, but I always felt alone. People always tell me, oh, God's always with you, but I never felt him. And when I gave my life back, I felt him, obviously. And when I was surrounded by people that encourage my calling and encourage my faith, it just shows that I'm not alone in this fight. But still, even if I was alone, I still should be chasing after the Lord, you know, in this.
And I think it's like a process and a maturity as a believer, and especially if you're in an environment where people can encourage one another to continue to follow the Lord. What a beautiful story.
Yeah, it's so good, you know. And I think it's so important to, especially like, there's so much peer pressure nowadays.
Yeah.
You know, and really, there's always been that way in that age group. But there's just so many things that are grabbing for your attention and grabbing for your beliefs and what you believe and what you stand for. And are you for this? Are you against this? Cancel culture, all these different things that are happening, where it's so important as a believer to be connected to a community that has unity, but also that focuses on Jesus.
Yeah.
Because it's very easy to get distracted by other things and to have idols and to have other things in place of Jesus. And as a teenager, there's so many decisions, so many things happening, so much development taking place, from the hormones to your brain developing to figure out the rest of your life and where you're going to go to college or trade or whatever it looks like. There's just so much going on, and then you throw in other things with family and friends, and it's so important to be in a place where you are developing and growing in your spiritual walk as well.
Yeah, and
It's so important.
Yeah, it's like the devil really attacks that age group because that's where they're going through the most. You know,
and especially in movies and entertainment. Everything is grasping for your attention. So you have to have a good foundation of who Jesus is. The Word, learning about the Word is so important also. It will establish a foundation in a person.
Yeah, whatever you go through in life, you can find the solution in God's Word.
Yeah.
Whatever. And you've learned that, and we're so grateful for that. And so, speaking of His Word, what is God teaching you in this season?
I think the biggest thing right now is He's teaching me to rely on Him. Rely on
That's
Him.
so good.
I'm just kind of taking His hand in this season, kind of just letting Him lead the way, just guide me. Just having full faith, and, you know, also teaching me about peace. I'm a very busy person. I like to just have, like, things going on. Because I feel like if I'm not doing anything, I'll kind of go back into the isolation. You know what I mean? But, you know, God obviously is like, don't be lazy, but have peace. I feel like that's what He's teaching me right now.
That's
so
good.
important, especially with mental health. It reminds me of the story of one of the prophets, of like when he was feeling depressed, the one thing that the Lord commended him was, you know, he needed rest and food. And I feel like as believers, there's such an importance of us resting, but not just resting like, you know, you go to bed, like, no, actually resting in His presence. It is so important.
Yeah, I actually saw a shirt the other day. Actually, no, it was at the convention center while we're here in Ohio. It was a shirt a kid was wearing, and it said, "No God, no peace." It also said, "No God, no peace."
Wow.
So I really liked that, and it was
It's huge.
Yeah, it's a big deal. And, you know, like, that's the thing, like, Jesus said Himself, like, come to me, all you who are weak and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you, because my burden is light and my yoke is easy. Jesus is the Prince of Peace. He gives us peace that goes beyond all understanding.
Yeah.
And it's so good to know that that's who our God is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Juliana, do you want to share anything before we close out?
Have faith in the Lord. Just like you're not alone.
That's
Like
it.
I know how it feels to like feel like you're alone. But God, like, you know, even if you feel like, oh, I don't feel God. God's not here. Just don't give up on him. Don't give up on him, cuz you know, God's not going to force himself on you. And it's your choice whether to follow after him or not, but don't. That's the biggest thing I have. Just don't give up on him.
Wow, that's so good.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yes, man, we so appreciate you. Thank you for joining us for this Young Voice podcast. I'm so grateful to see what the Lord's done in your life, Juji. We're super proud of you. 18, senior in high school. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me. You are listening to Equip Students Podcast, a ministry of Equip Church. For more information about who we are, visit our website at equipchurch.life or head over to our Instagram page at equipstudents.life.